Hi guys, welcome to another video. I apologize about my voice. I'm a bit sick right now, but I figured I should still do a voiceover, and I'm gonna show you how I painted this squid in FireAlpaca. Hopefully this is the first in a set of sea creatures. So I started off with my sketch. This was just done with an erasable colored pencil, I think by Stettler. And I'm just color picking and putting down some base colors just in different sections, and then I try to grab transition colors and blend and everything else. My favorite thing about this squid was the shiny bits, so I wanted to make sure I could make those really pop and stand out. The trickiest part about painting this squid was the fact that a lot of the values or the things that you perceive as darker are these spots that are clearly, they just have a lot of pigment. So they do make it darker, but it's not like solid, it's speckled. So I thought the best thing for me to do would be to color pick and like put a base down for every area, and then at the end you'll see me grab the particle brush, which is basically just a whole bunch of dots, so I don't have to individually go and put thousands of dots, and I put that onto a clipping layer and I set it to multiply, and I think it just pulls everything together. So yeah, at this moment, I'm just making sure I have my lights and my darks. And another tricky thing was including like the occlusions, especially with all the legs, but for this head bit as well. When I say occlusion, I mean like where two edges meet. I don't want to make a really unnatural line, but we have to make sure that we could tell what's in front and what's in back, and like what's one tentacle versus another tentacle. So you'll see, especially when I get into the tentacles, I do a whole lot of back and forth where I do a little dark and then a little lighter and a little dark and a little lighter. This tentacle goes lighter, this tentacle goes darker. Just trying to make sure you could see the edges, that your brain can comprehend that one shape starts here and one shape stops here without just drawing a line. So yeah, a little bit of that at the top of the head there, but you'll really see it a lot in the legs. So total, I think this took me like 3.5 hours, because my footage was, or maybe 4 hours, because my footage was about 4 hours in length, which surprised me. It felt like a whole lot longer, but yeah, I guess I just got really focused. The trickiest part was, I think, when it got to the tentacles and the suckers, but you'll see that in a bit, and I'll explain a bit more about what my sort of goal with that was. Here again, I'm trying to pick up on the shiny bits, because clearly the lighting is coming from mostly the left side, a little bit in front to the left. And the coloration is also really interesting here, where it goes a little gray, but then you have those shiny areas. So I really liked the contrast there. But a whole lot of this middle part in the face, I'm just like, well, shapes, are there shapes? It's a blob. What do I paint? So basically I just put in a couple, I didn't even know what base colors to put in, because it just was a blob in my mind. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just move from the face, and we're gonna start the easiest looking tentacle. And again, this is where it was difficult to pick out colors, because a lot of the darkness is dots. So I didn't want to overdo it, because I wanted to add dots in later. But yeah, I hope they look like tentacles. I think they do. I really liked how some parts had no dots and it was quite light, and then other parts were quite heavily pigmented but also in shadow. So again, I like the contrast. That's why I chose this photo in particular. I did actually go onto Reddit and I posted this photo in like a animal identifying subreddit because I wanted to find more reference photos, mostly of the face, of the eyes. And someone actually told me it's like a hooked squid or something. I'll have to look that up. Maybe I'll put it in the description. But yeah, what they gave me was more of like a genus, not a specific species. So I wasn't sure exactly what the species is. But yeah, I didn't end up actually, because I was thinking, should I like draw an open eye? But I figured it would give it too much of a, because squids kind of look cartoony. There apparently are two different types of squids. One type has eyelids and one type doesn't. And I think the ones without eyelids are particularly cartoony looking, which is, I think, why people like to draw them in cartoons and stuff. Well, in Japan anyway. Here you see like squid cartoons all the time because people love eating squid. And I didn't want it to be funny. He still kind of looks funny, but I wanted him or her to be more majestic than funny. So I opted to not draw the eyeball. I don't really know what's going on here. I still am not quite sure if this is a species with or without eyelids. I'm just not entirely sure. Maybe I should trust that person on Reddit and it says it doesn't have eyelids. But yeah, I'm just going off the reference photo. As you can see in the reference photo, we don't see a pupil or anything. It's just like skin. So that's what I did. So yeah, this is kind of what I meant by drawing occlusions rather than drawing lines, or like trying to form occlusions without lines. You can kind of see me going back and forth in the spaces where the tentacles overlap each other to get a darker value and then put a lighter value on top. But also it's tricky because the tentacles are round, so the bottom part of the tentacles are in shadow anyway, so the tentacles that are beneath it are also in shadow. So when I was color picking just to see, is this really the same color? Because it looks like the same color. And I zoom in real close here and everything. You can see right here. I'm trying to figure out how to make that look different. And it really is just the same color. Like the bottom of that top tentacle and the tentacle right underneath it where it overlaps, that's the same color of shadow. So I ended up for a couple places just going a little extra dark, because that's kind of just what you have to do when you're painting so that the eye registers what it's actually looking at. So I went a little bit darker, still trying not to make any lines. This part also, things started blending together, but I really wanted to capture those like shiny bits that are kind of like a line, in contrast with, again, those heavily pigmented dotty areas that kind of form lines. And I really wanted to maintain the shape of those tentacles as well. I guess that's why they're called hooked squid, because their tentacles look like hooks. So that's cool. I think it's neat. At this point, I am also starting to draw suckers. My goal, I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do at first, because I wanted to keep it like a suggestion of suckers rather than drawing in detail every single little one, because it's gonna be printed real small anyway, so they're just gonna look like a bunch of dots. You won't really be able to tell what they are, and I want to maintain that contrast, so I wanted to keep that dark area in the middle really dark and not put a whole bunch of light spots on it of suckers. But I wanted a little bit of the sucker shape in the lighter parts of the tentacles, so I like to see that, again, that contrast of where it's just coming out of the shadow and you can see a little bit of light bits. And then this really textured bit, I'm like, I just went back and forth with that for ages. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So somehow I came up with something, and in the end I was like, hey, I don't hate that, actually. So that was kind of just like blindly adding texture and different values until it kind of looked like a roughly looking tentacle. Yeah, and now adding some more suckers onto there. I went back and forth and back and forth. At this point, I was dreading. I was like, I just want to finish these tentacles, but I still got one more to do. So I was a bit mad, a little frustrated at this point. But the more I worked on it, the more it was actually becoming readable. So I was like, well, I guess whatever I'm doing now is gonna work out for the next one, because the next one's like extra full of suckers, right? So it wasn't so scary after I realized this middle one was okay. And this does not look remotely, like, it doesn't look exactly like the reference image, even in terms of like the individual tentacles and like the shapes of the and directions of the tentacles. I even maybe left out one or two hooky things. The middle one kind of blends in with the other one because, again, I didn't want to bring too much attention. I wanted dark there. And so this is where I tried out that contrast with like the light suckers, but I don't want all of them to be too light, and just giving the impression that there's shapes there without going too hyper detailed. I think it was working out by this point, so I was like, cool, I like it, let's add spots. And I knew I wanted to at least find a brush. I didn't realize I already had one on FireAlpaca. I think this is a default one, particle. But I was like, hey, that sounds like spots. And so I started coloring with it, and I was like, hey, that's perfect. Actually, I don't have to go download a brush or anything. So I started off with just like a larger brush, so the spots were a bit more spread out and bigger. And I went pretty much all over, and then I took a finer brush, I think it was at 70, yeah, it's at 70 here, and I concentrated it in the areas with more pigment. And I also went back and forth with my eraser, and I made sure to erase spots in the places where there weren't really any. And that's about it. Here it is. Hopefully it'll be part of a sticker set soon. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe if you want to see more stuff, because I have more stuff planned. Bye!